Have you ever felt like no matter how much money you make, you always end up in the same financial situation? In this episode 480, you will discover why making more money won't solve your financial problems unless you fix this one thing first. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery, the podcast that helps intelligent, busy professionals develop self-mastery and discover their calling, so you can thrive in a fulfilling, purposeful life. I am your host, Agi Keramidas. By listening to this episode, you are going to discover what the financial thermostat is and how it controls your financial reality. You will also learn the 3 steps to identifying and releasing subconscious money blocks, and you will discover how to reprogram your money mindset for financial success and abundance. Before we dive in, remember, my fellow mastery seeker, if you want to go deeper into the episode, join us at our free community, the Mastery Seekers Tribe, for more. Go to masteryseekerstribe.com. Now let's get started. Today it is my real pleasure to speak with Pericles Rellas. Pericles, you are a money mindset expert with over 20 years of experience, helping people transform their relationship with money. You have worked with tens of thousands of individuals, uncovering the hidden patterns that keep them stuck in cycles of financial stress. And you are passionate about empowering people to transform their relationship with money, break free from the cycle of financial stress, and create a mindset for wealth and freedom. Pericles, welcome to the show. I'm delighted to speak with you today.
Agi, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's great to be here.
If at some point during our conversation I call you Pericles, it will be because I will be using, the actual Greek version, the pronunciation of yours.
Absolutely welcome to do so.
So I think from the quick introduction I gave of you, it is very clear that today we will talk about money mindset. In particular, you discuss about the concept of the money thermostat, which it is a very important and pertinent, especially these times, topic. So I will invite the listener right now, if you've ever wondered how to change perhaps your limiting beliefs about money, this conversation is for you. The first thing I will ask Pericles is, just give us a brief definition of or an overview of the concept of the financial thermostat.
Of course. The reason I use it is it really puts it into a format that almost anyone can relate to. We've all interacted with a thermostat at some point, whether it's on an oven or in our home or in our car, and it's got one purpose. All it does is regulate the temperature. So if we set it at 72 degrees, if it's cold outside, the heat will come on and it'll bring the room back up to 72 degrees. And the opposite is true as well. If it's really hot outside and it goes up to 90, the AC will kick on and it will bring the room back down to that temperature. And what we don't notice or know about ourselves is that we all have an internal financial thermostat. And that thermostat regulates how much money we can earn, how much money we can keep, as well as our thoughts, feelings, and emotions around money. And so for those of your listeners who are thinking, wow, I've been struggling with not being able to make more my whole life, or I can make lots, but I can't keep it, or I'm always stressed about money. That is not a defect of you or a problem. It is just the financial thermostat setting that you have in that area. And so I work with people to first see what their financial thermostat setting is, and then reset it so they can make the kind of money that they want and have the kind of life that they're looking for.
This is great, and we will go into detail about the thermostat, because the first thing we need to understand is how that thermostat was set in the first place. Before we go there, tell us what inspired you to dedicate your work in helping people shift their money mindset.
Yeah, when I first started working, I was a coach. I wanted to coach people who were opening a business or people who just wanted to make more money, be more successful in their lives. That was my focus. And as I started working with my first clients 30 years ago,
Mhm.
I noticed within the first 6 months, they were making more money, which was great. That for me was success. I wanted them to have the success that they were looking for. But what I also noticed was every single time I spoke with them, they were still in the same place they were before I started working with them. Meaning they were somebody that was always just behind at the end of every month. They were still just behind every single month,
Mm.
even though they were making a lot more money. Or if there was somebody that was always just breaking even, they were still just breaking even though they were making a lot more money. And the
Mhm.
same thing for stress or anxiety or worry about money. They were making more money, and yet this was still the situation that they were in. And I looked at it and thought, okay, everyone's dealing with this across the board. Something must be going on here that I'm not seeing. And so I spent the next 2 years really looking at it and researching it and thinking about it and inquiring with my clients, okay, what's going on here? What's going on there? And over the course of that time, I came up with the financial thermostat and how it regulates and limits what we can do around money. And then
Mm.
also the 4 keys to resetting your financial thermostat. And so at that stage, I started to implement these distinctions with my clients, and the results were extraordinary. And my clients kept saying, oh, I have a friend who needs this and I have somebody else who needs this. And it just naturally grew and evolved into me becoming this focus of, as a coach, a money mindset focus for people to reset their financial thermostat. So it was very
Mhm.
organic in the way it arose, but it became a passion for me over the years because I see how people's mindsets can really limit their ability to create the kind of life that they're looking for.
Thank you. And I think anyone that has been in a situation like you just described, like having, let's say, increased earnings and still being in the same, result at the end of a month or a period, I
Mm.
think they can understand. And perhaps they have not even considered that term. So let's talk about the money thermostat or the financial thermostat. How does it get set in the first place? Is it like what we get from our parents, or are also events during our life that can change it?
All of the above. You're absolutely right. And for some of us, we have generational money mindsets. You know,
Aha.
we have things that are passed on from our parents and our grandparents and before them, and we don't even realize that it's there. For me personally, one of the biggest breakthroughs I had once I started this education and started this conversation is I remember this time when I was a little boy. I was about 6 years old, and we were watching as a family a show you may know or may not know, especially across the pond, called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And you can imagine the theme of this. It was all about, a focus on a family that was very wealthy. And generally it was, just what their lives looked like. It was kind of a peek behind the curtains. But this particular episode was how this wealthy family came to be wealthy, but also how it destroyed their family,
Mm.
how miserable they all were. And I remember as the show ended, my mother said very nonchalant, she wasn't trying to really make a point beyond a casual comment, I never want to have that kind of money. You'll lose your whole family.
Mm.
And in that instant, that 6-year-old boy, not knowing what I was doing, but subconsciously, I made the decision, never make too much money because you'll lose your whole family. And as someone who loves my family, I didn't want to lose them. And that became the glass ceiling financially, or my financial thermostat setting,
Mhm.
that stopped me from ever getting beyond a certain amount of money. And I remember struggling with it. I remember fighting with it. I remember saying, I'm going to get to the next level no matter what, if it kills me. And it was a struggle, and I couldn't get there. And then when I started to create this education, I was able to transform it in a very short period of time. by implementing the steps that I have to resetting any particular setting that we have. And so for me, I can trace it back to that conversation when I was a 6-year-old boy. And for all of us, it can be our family members. It can be people that are influential around us. It can be aunts or uncles or teachers or friends or family members that are extended, or simply watching a TV show and seeing something that impacts us at a deep level that we make a decision about. And then suddenly it's running the show for the rest of our lives.
So how about events in our adult life? Is that also something that can happen, that can change the thermostat?
Yes, absolutely. As we get older, I think that there are less things that influence us at a subconscious level around money because our kind of our money mindset or thermostat is set. There are things that can make dings to it. And it depends on what we bring to the conversation. We need to be in a conversation of, I'm committed to changing. I'm committed to having something different. And when we're in that place, it opens up to, okay, there's this possibility of making an adjustment, both negative and positive. But sometimes we need that outside influence to be able to point out what we can't see. It's one of the reasons great athletes and great business leaders have coaches, is so the coach can point out what they can't see, because you can't change what's there with the same mindset that you use to get where you are. So we need to shift our mindset, and oftentimes that requires some sort of outside influence. Sometimes it's just watching a YouTube video or reading a book or listening to someone like this in this conversation. And other times it takes a more intimate, focused conversation. But yes, it is possible to make those adjustments as we get older. And in my case, I'm looking at making it in a positive way for people.
Of course. So have you noticed people changing their thermostat just by watching a talk, or just for some people is it as simple as that?
I think it's both. For some people, it can be as simple as that. There are things that I've accomplished in my life that I never thought I could accomplish simply by reading a very influential book. It would need to be the right book for you, for me, right? So one of the things that I like to impress upon people is that there is no one right answer for everyone. If you meet someone and says, well, I have the answer, it's the answer for everyone, and nobody else has it, run. That is not the person you want to be working with, because they are going to just sell you whatever they have to sell you. For me, it's about find someone or something that works for you. And as long as it inspires you, as long as you're getting the outcome that you want, continue to do it. And then be okay with coming to the end of that particular journey. Because there are times that there was a time when I was doing journaling and it was amazing. And I had this whole process by journaling. And then there was a day I woke up and it was kind of like, okay, I'm done journaling. Well, I didn't think, okay, my life's over and this is horrible and try to force it. I just realized, no, there's something now for me to move on to. And I found the next thing. And then I found the next thing. So find the thing that works for you, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to work for you.
If you enjoy this episode, can you think of one person that would find it useful and share it with them? I'd really appreciate it, and you will also be adding value to people you care about. And now let's get back to the episode. Thank you, and I completely agree with what you said about not one solution. Not only to that, but generally with in the field of personal development, I don't think there is, or there would be one solution. Let's move on, Pericles, and okay, we get it now, the money thermostat, and that you also use the phrase glass ceiling, which I think is a very nice way to also describe it. So what are the steps of resetting the money thermostat, or what does this, let's start with that, and then I will ask you about, perhaps some steps along the journey that we realize that things are changing.
The first step to understanding the steps for resetting any area of our financial thermostat is understanding how money flows. Money is a currency, and as a currency, it flows like a current. And a current can be electricity, it can be water, it can be wind. We've all interacted with currents at some point in our lives. Money flows in a distinct way in that it flows in a circle. And we intersect that circle. So it flows to us, through us, and away from us, and then back around to us, through us, and away from us. And then there's a reservoir on the side that we get to keep.
Yes.
Now, because money flows in this circle, blocks anywhere in that flow are blocks everywhere in that flow, including that reservoir on the side that we get to keep. So the first thing we want to do is look to see, well, what are my blocks in the flow coming to me? And then the blocks in the flow of money going away from me. So blocks in the flow of money coming to us can look like, I hate the wealthy. I hate my boss. I think that money is the root of all evil. Those are just 3 very simple examples, and probably the most powerful of all of them. If we resent the wealthy, or we hate the wealthy, or we think money is the root of all evil, we will never be able to become wealthy, because we can't become that which we resent or that which we hate. And we don't look at it from that perspective, but we think from, oh, well, I don't want that much money. But in the world of more, there is no distinction. If I give you a single penny, you now have more than you had a second ago. That makes you wealthier than you were. And when we start making those kind of decisions and judgments about wealth, the universe doesn't parse it out by pennies or nickels or dimes. It just says they don't want more money because money's the root of all evil. And so we want to clear those blocks out. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. Blocks in the flow of money going away from us can look like, I hate paying my bills on time. I resent paying my bills. I never pay people what they want. I always try to negotiate it down. I will hold on to my money as long as I can. I penny pinch every penny. Those are blocks in the flow of money going away from us. And again, any one of those blocks impacts the money flowing to us, through us, and away from us, and ultimately that reservoir on the side. That reservoir on the side can have blocks too. Money flowing to that reservoir on the side. I don't deserve money. I don't deserve to have a lot of money. Those conversations can block you being able to save money on that reservoir on the side. So now that we've seen what the flow of money is and how we can block it, the next step is to clear those blocks out. And we can have many, many different blocks, but we want to start with the most predominant one. And that, for some of you listening, may very well have been when I said money's the root of all evil, or I hate the wealthy. Whatever that may be for you, you can just stop and think about what's your relationship to money, or what do you think when you think about money? And that will be one of the blocks. If it's negative, that will be one of the blocks in the flow of money for you. So the first step to clearing these blocks is, 1, notice it and acknowledge it. This is so important. If we don't notice it and acknowledge it, we're never going to be able to get beyond it. It's kind of like the alcoholic saying, I'm an alcoholic. That acknowledgement gives us power over it rather than it having power over us. And so we want to acknowledge it. Oh, this has been my conversation for 20 years or 30 years, or I don't even know how long it's been, but I've got this conversation and this block around money. I can own that. The second step.
Before we go to the second step, one
Please.
more question about this first step. So is there any particular process that you advise in order to identify these blocks? Because it's one thing to talk about these blocks, but as you very well know, they are mostly happening on the subconscious level, and I might not, for example, necessarily be aware that when I'm paying money, I have at the back of my mind the thought that it's too expensive, you know. So how do we bring those blocks into light?
This is a great question, and one that comes up from time to time, because sometimes, like for me, when I was a 6-year-old boy, we may not be able to identify that particular incident or episode or moment in time. And sometimes it's just a matter of, I don't know what it is, but I can't get beyond this place. We know there's an it there. We may not be able to identify its origin or it in particular, but we can identify that there's an it there that's a block.
Okay.
And all we need to do is make that declaration. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it's there, and I know it's been there for a long time, and I can own that it's been there and that it's been stopping me from getting to where I want. So I can own that it is there. So for those of you who are concerned about that, don't worry about finding the exact time or day. People spend years in therapy trying to figure out why they are the way they are. And I'm not dissing therapy. It's awesome for many people. But sometimes people, they spend years and thousands of dollars trying to figure out why they are the way they are. And then they figure it out. And I say, great, did it make a difference? Oh no, I'm still the same way. I just know now why it is.
Yes.
So that's not the key here. The key is just noticing that there is something there. If you can identify it, great. If not, just use it. There is that it there. Own it.
Thank you.
I've got this it there. Then the next step is, and this can be the hardest one because it has been there for a long time. It's familiar, it's comfortable. And many times we're actually addicted to it. We're addicted to that sense of whatever it provides us because it's familiar. The next step is letting it go. And we need to say it out loud and we need to feel it leaving us and we need to send it away to whatever it is we want to send it away. So for me, it could be, I acknowledge that I've had this conversation that I will lose my family if I make too much money. I am surrendering that conversation into the care of the universe. It could be God, it could be the universe, it could be the mountains, the ocean, the beach, whatever it is, just something outside of yourself. It's irrelevant where it's going. It's just that you're sending it away. I surrender that conversation to the care of the universe. I turn it over to the universe. I release it from my life. It is no longer welcome in my world. It no longer has dominion over me. It no longer has power or influence over me. I release you and surrender you to a higher power, whatever that is. And you keep saying it until you feel even the slightest sense of relief or release or it lifting away. And that's the second step. And then in that moment, when you feel that sense of, and you have to feel it, it can't be just something you're just rotely saying. You have to actually feel it. When you feel it, then you create, what is your relationship with money newly? And for me, it's money flows to me freely and abundantly every single day. That's what I created. Money flows to me easily and abundantly every single day. And I can feel that and I can see and feel and hear and experience money flowing to me easily and abundantly every single day. That's the third step. Now, once we've taken these 3 steps, it's not just over. It's not like suddenly it's daffodils and daisies and bunny rabbits jumping around and millions of dollars flowing to us. We've been doing what we've been doing. It has been running the show for decades sometimes. We need to now keep generating that new relationship to money and be watching for it showing up in our lives. Because what we're doing is there are 2 worlds we're working inside of. One's energetic and one is brain science. So brain science is we're creating new neural pathways. We're breaking the old neural pathways that have been there forever and ever and ever. We're breaking them by acknowledging it and releasing it. And then we're creating a new neural pathway. We need to build those new neural pathways over and over and over again and make them stronger and stronger and stronger so they become the predominant conversation that we have. On an energetic level, we're shifting our vibrational frequency. For those of you who follow Abraham Hicks, things like that, the power of manifestation, the law of attraction, we're shifting our vibrational frequency by first acknowledging and releasing the old vibrational frequency and now creating a new vibrational frequency, which is why it's so important that we feel it, because that's when we know we're vibrating at a new frequency. Now we go out into the world and we're looking for, oh, wow, there's money, there's money, there's money. We're acknowledging it. We're expressing gratitude for it. And as that starts to happen, that new conversation becomes the predominant conversation. That old conversation will never go away. It will get quieter and quieter and quieter and less frequent, but it will show up from time to time. You do the same 3 steps all over again. Oh, there's that old conversation. I can own that. I've released you. I'm letting you go again. You're no longer welcome in my world. Here's who I am now. Money flows to me freely and abundantly every single day. Take on those. It's 3 steps plus an action. Once you take those 3 steps and then you're out in the world watching for the evidence of it showing up, pulling that evidence toward, oh, I found a penny. Thank you for putting money in front of me. Thank you for showing me that money flows to me freely and abundantly every single day. Oh, there's another opportunity. I'm going to look at that opportunity. Doesn't mean you have to take it, but we're looking at all the opportunities that are being put in front of us as a result of this new relationship we have for money. We're exploring them. We're looking at them. We're considering them. We don't have to take them all, but we're living in the world of, wow, I have all these wonderful opportunities that keep presenting themselves. So those are the 3 steps and the one final action that we can take to shift or reset our financial thermostats.
This is great. Let me repeat it in my own words to see how well I I got it. And also, as repetition is the mother of learning of skill. And so the first step is to acknowledge those blocks that we have. The second is to release them. And actually, I will ask a little bit more about that. The third is to, I don't remember how you said it, but it was to replace that belief with something that is empowering, and then go out in the world and watch how these things appear or manifest. You use that word. Let me ask a couple of 2 things, and then we can perhaps go deeper on something particular that you might want to discuss as an action for the listener. But I do have a couple of more. First, when you were saying, you're describing the second step about, releasing it to the universe, a higher power, something external of us. The description of the techniques, I would say, of what you did sounds very simple. Is it really as simple as that? Just declaring it and, of course you said it's important to feel it and to do it, to repeat it. But is it really as simple as that? That step, I mean, I don't mean the whole process, but that particular step.
No, I understand. Of course, the most powerful solutions, and we've seen this in time and time again throughout history, the most powerful solutions are oftentimes the most simple. And that doesn't mean that they're easy to accomplish. It just means, I love the idea of magic. We'll see a magic trick and we'll think, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then suddenly they'll show us how it's done. And you think, how stupid and simple was that? I can't believe it. And it's the same concept. The problem is, imagine that there's something that's occurred in your life and all you need to do is apologize to someone. Just say you're sorry. It's that simple. I'm sorry. 2 words, a contraction in a word. I'm sorry. And yet think about how hard it is to actually formulate those 2 words in the moment. We know it can make all the difference in the world. It can end the strife or the disagreement or whatever's going on, even with somebody we truly care about. I can't say I'm sorry. I just can't bring myself to say I'm sorry or to forgive. So the action is very simple. It's the mind that keeps us from actually taking it. So when I was talking about releasing it, it's funny when I'm working with people and they're in that stage, they're like, okay, now let it go. And they're struggling to let it go. As simple as it is to say, I release it, I let it go, it no longer has dominion. It's oftentimes, we can equate it to almost like, I'm going to let go of my right arm. I'm going to let go of, because it's been a part of us for so long. Yes. It's been an integral part of the way we've interacted with life. And again, it's very familiar. My dad was a great example of this about quitting smoking. My dad was a smoker his whole life. He could quit like that. He could literally stop like that, but he always went back to it because he loved it so much. It was so familiar for him. For some people, it's very challenging to quit, but the simple action of stop putting cigarettes in your mouth, that's a very simple action. Just stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. But for people who are smokers, it is a huge problem. It's an addiction. It is something we cannot do as easily as other people would like us to do. So that's where that complexity comes in. And that is why it is a very challenging yet simple action to let it go, just like stop putting cigarettes in your mouth. Sounds really easy, but for the smoker, it isn't. And we have to have compassion and understanding for that. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. And I agree. And also the distinction between simple but not easy. It is very, very important. Easy, simple is one thing. Easy is a different.
Yes.
Let me ask you one more thing, because you were saying this. You didn't use the word affirmation. I don't think you did anyway. But what you said, that money flows to me. I don't remember how you said it exactly, but I will tell you the one that there is one affirmation that I have been using for a while, a long while actually. It's very similar, and it says, money flows freely and easily to me for the greater good of all. So I'm sharing this, and actually this is the first time I share public. This is one of the main affirmations that I use. So I would like your thoughts about it. And there is, you said something, and I took it very useful. You were saying about the feeling of, the money flowing easily, abundantly, and that is, I think, the very big difference between words on a piece of paper or spoken out loud, and actually changing the vibration to match this word.
Yes. It's, if we equate it, let's imagine we're going to say I love you to someone, but we don't truly love them. I love you. We can say I love you. The words are there, but we don't feel it. Then imagine saying I love you and actually feeling it. They're two totally different worlds, totally different experiences. And when you say I love you, when we say I love you to someone and we feel it, they feel it. They can experience it in a different way. And it's the same thing when we're creating this new relationship to money that we want. And Agi, I want to speak to, because I love what you've created. There are two things I want to say about this, really important. The first one is, many people, they have affirmations and they're trying to manifest, and they're struggling because they don't understand why it's not working.
Yes.
It's not working because they haven't done the first two steps. We can't manifest on top of a negative. Just like we can't build a house on top of no foundation. The house will crumble. We need that powerful foundation. In this conversation, that powerful foundation starts with us acknowledging, owning, and then releasing that negative conversation. It would be like, I've got a mud pie. Here's a mud pie for you. Now I'm going to put some really nice frosting on top of it. That's the manifestation or the affirmation. Well, the mud pie's still underneath there, and it poisons everything that's being put on top of it. So we need to get rid of the mud pie and then create from nothing. Now, I love what you created. Money flows freely to me for the greater good of all. I think was
freely and easily. Freely and easily.
Freely and
for the greater
easily.
Good of all.
Yes. And so I love the first part of it is so nice. I'm suspicious about the second part. If I can be honest with you here,
of course,
and
that's why
have this conversation,
it.
I appreciate it. Yes. For the greater good of all sounds to me that there's a concern that if I have too much money, I'm going to be a bad person unless I give it away. And so I want to make sure, and the reason I bring it up is because often, a lot of times I'll say something that's, well, okay, what would you do if I gave you $1 million? Well, I donate a lot of it to charity, as if that suddenly compensates for, I'm a bad person because I've got a lot of money, so I need to give a lot away to charity.
Yes.
Right? I want to make sure for you and for anyone that's in this conversation that negative mindset, that block in the flow, that money is somehow evil, is cleared. Because look, the bottom line is money is not evil. Money is not good. It's just money. It can only provide us with the things that it can provide us with. It can't buy us happiness. It can't buy us security. It can't buy us freedom. It can't buy us a sense of fulfillment or satisfaction. We like to think that it can. Look, money can buy us lots of things that we enjoy. I surround myself with beautiful things and I love them, but they're not the source of my happiness. They're not the source of my fulfillment. They're just things that I can bring into my life to help supplement, but it is not the source of my joy and happiness. I've worked with billionaires, people who are on the Forbes list billionaires, and I've watched how miserable they are. I've watched how fearful they are because they don't know what's coming next. fearful of losing a child, to a divorce, or losing money to a lawsuit, or whatever it is. They don't have a sense of security. They don't have a sense of fulfillment. And I've worked with people who have very little money, who have all of those things. They have fulfillment and joy and happiness and security in their lives because they know where it actually comes from. So when we're in this conversation of creating something newly, we want to be really clear about, am I compensating for this negative thought that I have that money's evil or money's bad or money will make me bad? Or am I freed up from that? Have I let that concern go? And now I'm creating something newly. And one last tidbit that I'll offer, if I may, is money will amplify. It is not good and it's not evil. Money will amplify the personality traits that you choose to allow it to amplify. And what I mean by that is we all have propensities to be good and bad. Just it's part of who we are. We can be good or we can be bad. We get to choose whether we're good or bad. When we get more money, it will amplify the behaviors that we choose to focus on, which is why we see sometimes people with a lot of money and they're horrible. They treat people horribly. They behave horribly. They think they can do whatever they want, whenever they want. That's not a function of the money. That's just the money amplifying the behaviors that they choose to amplify. And the opposite is true as well. We see people with lots of money who are so magnanimous and so gracious and kind with their money. So don't worry about money being the root of all evil. You are the source of that. Money will just amplify whatever you choose to allow it to amplify. So I want to make sure I spoke to your question about your manifestation or your affirmation, and if that provided something for you.
It has, and thank you for that. On a conscious level, that was never the intention behind that phrase, for the greater good of all. But since you mentioned that, I will certainly do some quiet reflection time later.
And it may or may not. I just don't know. It's just
that was not the intention.
There.
Yes, for me the intention is that the more I can, the more power financially I have, the more power I have for the greater good. It's what
Correct.
You were saying about, amplifying the good.
Yes.
So that was the intention when written. But it's a fair point, and I will look into it, at a deeper level.
Yeah.
Pericles, this is such a wonderful conversation. Thank you. Very insightful and quite practical as well, I think, with the steps and the way that you broke it down. I do have some final quick questions, but before we wrap it up, where do you want to direct our listeners, the mastery seeker that wants to continue the journey and the learning?
Yes, if in the course of this conversation something's touched you, something's inspired you, something's kind of been triggered and you want to pursue more, you can go to my website at periclesrellas.com or resetyourfinancialthermostat.com. They both go to the same place. Mm-hmm. And right there on the main page is a link to watch my free masterclass where I share with you the 4 keys to resetting your financial thermostat. It's a short video. It's about 27 minutes, and it really demonstrates and breaks down what we need to do to reset our financial thermostat. And I do this because I want as many people as possible to have access to this conversation so they can start creating the kind of life that they have with money. And if it isn't something that inspires you, I recommend find something that does inspire you. Find the thing that will work for you. Pull that towards you and go for it as much as possible.
Very true. Very true. I do have also 2 quick questions for you, Pericles. And the first one is, what does personal development mean to you?
It means going where you choose to go. So for each person, personal development looks different. For some people, it may be, I want to live in a world where I'm healthy and I'm well. And I'm constantly striving to be my fittest so that I can live a long life. For other people, it's I want to make a difference in the world. And I want to look to see what are the things that are stopping me from being that person that wants to make a difference. So it really is, for other people, it's a spiritual path. For other people, it's a religious path. Whatever that path is for you, make sure that it's true to who you are. So for me, it's all about making a difference in the world. That is my commitment. And every word that comes out of my mouth, every action that I take, when I'm in the mode of making a difference, there are times when I'm just off and I'm watching TV and I'm hanging out and just doing what I'm doing, or I'm at the gym and, I'm not in that conversation. I'm just doing what I do. I'm always great with people. I'm always gracious with people. At least that's my intention. Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. I screw the pooch all the time. And then I'm willing to acknowledge it and clean it up and figure out, what do I need to do to be a better person, to be a bigger person, to be a wiser person. So for me, it's about the journey you're on. And are you being true to that path, whatever that path is, and always looking here for that barometer of truth, not outside of you. It doesn't exist outside of you. It only exists here. This is the only barometer that we use to gauge anything, is inside.
Beautiful answer. And a hypothetical question. If you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would give him?
Let go of your fear. Let go of your fear. It's all going to be okay. I was driven by and sourced by and run by fear for many, many, many years.
Pericles, I want to express my gratitude for this conversation. It was truly insightful and I mean it. So thank you for your time. Wishing you all the best carrying on with sharing this message and empowering people. I will leave it for your parting words and perhaps also one last piece of advice for the listener that has realized now that they need to do something about their money thermostat.
Know that we've never arrived. We're going to be on the journey most of our lives, because the moment we hit a destination, the first thing we do as human beings is, okay, I did it. All right, what's next? And we're going to be on the next journey to the next destination. So embrace the journey. Love where you are right now. Love the people who are around you. And if you don't love the people who are around you, find people you do love to have be around you. Be empowered by the circle of people who are around you. Be empowered from yourself and empower those around you as well. And you will find that you will have lived a life that you love, because every single day will be filled with the love and joy that you have for yourself, for the people around you, and for the journey that you're on. Find your path, stay on it, and love the journey.
I hope you have found this episode enlightening. And I ask for one simple, quick favor. If you like this podcast, think of someone else you know who might find it useful and share it with them. By doing so, you'll not only help the podcast grow, but also add value to people you care about. So thank you. And until next time, stand out, don't fit in,